What's up, everybody? I wanted to record this quick video to actually walk you through something that I think might be very useful for you. So I know inside of 2.0, there's actually an automatic setup through a third-party app called Entry. Now, the catch is that sometimes maybe you're having a hard time logging into your DNS host like Namecheap, or maybe it just automatically tells you, hey, you have to do the manual setup. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bypass the automatic setup, and I'm going to show you how to manually set up a domain inside of 2.0 that is hosted in Namecheap. So first things first, what you're going to need is obviously a Namecheap account, a domain inside of Namecheap, and then your ClickFunnels account here. So I have both of these open. What we're going to do is we're going to do this with a domain that I haven't used yet. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this domain here. And we're going to hop over to ClickFunnels real quick. Cool, I just wanted to make sure I was in the right workspace. So from here, what we'll go ahead and do is you're going to hop down to the workspace settings. Once we're in the workspace settings, you can go to domains. And then from here, you can go ahead and connect an existing domain. Now I'll paste this in here. Oops, that was not what I wanted to paste in there. Let's copy this one more time. Paste that in there, and make sure you put the www in front. If you don't have the www in front, it'll give you an error. So we'll go ahead and just say continue. Now, once you press continue, what's going to happen is it'll just show this domain here. You'll just verify add domain, and then once you get past this point, you're going to start the domain process. Now, a couple things to note here before we start. It's asking if you want to do this optional redirect here. So what this redirect is essentially it'll make it so that if somebody types in elevatemusicteaching.com, it'll go to www.elevatemusicteaching.com, which is actually what we want, since this is how we're actually having to set the domain up inside of ClickFunnels 2.0. So I'm going to go ahead and click the Start Domain Setup button here. When I do this, a window is actually going to load. We'll say continue. I'm going to let it authenticate where it's coming from first, so it says Namecheap and everything like that. And then once it gets to this window where I actually have to log in, I'm going to hit the X. Once I do that, it just says attempt manual setup instructions. Now, there's not anything super crazy about the manual setup. We're just going to hit the show DNS table, and we have quite a few records that we need to add to our DNS. So I'm going to go ahead and start this process now. So we'll go ahead and grab this first DNS record here. This is a TXT record. I can hit this little two paper icon and go ahead and essentially go back to Namecheap. We're going to go to manage here on Namecheap. And then from this point, go ahead and go to advanced DNS. Once we're inside advanced DNS, let's clean this up a little bit. Let's just get rid of these records that it has here by default. And then remember, it's a TXT record, so we're going to say add new record. We'll go down TXT. The @ symbol is actually what we're going to put in the host side for this record. Then we'll paste what we have on our clipboard. Now we'll go just kind of back and forth between ClickFunnels and here. So this one's a CNAME record. So we're going to copy what we have on our clipboard here. If you can remember, the host side is going to be www. So this is a CNAME record. So we'll go ahead and say CNAME, host, www, target would be what we have on our clipboard. And I always keep the TTL the same here as automatic. My understanding is this is just how often it's refreshing to make sure that like record is there on your DNS. I don't know 100% of the way there, if I'm being completely honest with you, but I always just keep it as automatic, and I haven't ever really experienced too many issues with that. So we'll let that load there for a minute, but as it's loading, I'm going to go back to 2.0. For this one, we're going to have to copy on both sides because there's no way I'm going to be able to remember this. So just remember, this is a TXT record. We're going to copy this with the piece there on the right-hand side. Go ahead and add the TXT record again. We're going to put the value in there first because that's what we copied. And we're going to go back to grab the host. Now, there's not that two-paper icon to do the click to copy on the left-hand side, so we're going to have to just kind of copy. On a Mac, you could do Command-C to copy. On a PC, you could do Control-C, or you could right-click it, and you should be able to do and just copy it from there, whatever you prefer. And then we'll go ahead and paste that in there for the host. Now there's just a few more records here. So we have this one, the SPF record. So this is another TXT record, and so we'll go ahead and add this here. This is like the series of mailing records if you're using this domain for emailing inside of ClickFunnels. So it was @ for the host, and then we'll paste what we have on our clipboard here. And then let's go ahead and do the last two. So now we have the DMARC record. We're going to have to copy this over as well. So we'll say @txt, and then let's go ahead and go back to here. We'll copy this piece, and we'll paste that in there and check it off. Perfect. And then I believe this next one is going to be a CNAME record. It's a mailing record here. So CF2 mail, we'll copy that. I did it backwards this time, huh? Anyways, we'll paste that in there. I'm going to make sure there's no space there. It was showing a space. I don't like that. And then we'll go ahead and copy this last little piece for this CNAME record. Now there's one other thing we're actually going to do just to ensure that it is working properly. And we're actually going to set up a forwarding record. Basically making sure that if somebody types in elevatemusicteaching.com or www, it still goes to the same place. Naturally, if you do the automatic setup, it should kind of have something like that working on the back end of your DNS. But because we're not doing the automatic setup, we kind of have to do it ourselves here. So I'm going to go back to the domain. And then from here on Namecheap, let's see. We're going to add a redirect. We're gonna go ahead and say, just making sure this is the right, yeah, this should be the right spot here. So we're gonna go ahead and say https:// and then we're gonna say elevatemusicteaching.com, and then when they type that in, basically it goes to, we'll just copy this over, paste it, and say www.elevatemusicteaching.com, and we'll say add redirect. Oh, actually, we won't say add redirect. We will say this little check mark here. What is it saying here? Valid source URL is required. Let's try taking this away. There we go. There we go. Perfect. All right. So everything is in place now. Now we actually just need to go back to 2.0. And we're going to validate ownership. Now, sometimes this could be the longest part, especially when you do the manual setup. But it looks like everything is good. Now it's telling us that the SSL will begin adding to the domain soon here. So if we go to show DNS table, sometimes some of these records, even though you have them in correctly, are just kind of showing red. That's okay. As long as it's saying the connection is verified, we can always go back in and just double check. So like, for example, with this one, the domain key record, let's go back in and just double check that it's there. I'm sure that it is, but if you just want to be diligent, we can go in and look for a TXT record. And funny enough, it must have not saved. It must have been the one that was loading that just never stopped pinwheeling. So let's go ahead and let's just add that in there. This is why I kind of do that due diligence here. And so we'll add that there. And then for the value, we're going to go ahead and paste what's on the clipboard here. And then go ahead and check that off. Now, if for some reason, it was already in there, it would give you an error anyway, so you don't have to worry about it being there more than once. So from here, now we can check connection, and we should see all of them have the green check, which is what we want. Now this is kind of just a waiting game from this to go to securing to actually connected. So I'm going to go ahead and pause this and wait. This could take a little bit, but I would find, 15 minutes and you're usually good, but it could take up to 24 hours, so just keep that in mind. I'm going to pause it and just see how long it takes. All right, so from here, looks like everything is connected. That took about, I would say, honestly, 5 minutes, but virtually you can come back here at any point and click the check connection button. You want to see that it's connected because then at that point you can actually connect this to a funnel. At any point, if you wanted to connect this to a funnel, basically what you just have to do is just kind of hit this little back button here. You can go up to funnels here at the top, and then inside any of your funnels, honestly, the easiest way is just to click the settings icon here, and then you can hit the drop down And you should see that available inside of your domain dropdown. You can click this, click the update funnel button here at the top. So I hope this is helpful.